QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 OneNote presentation, rental income setup items. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022. If you have access to OneNote, would like to follow along, icon left-hand side, topic introduction, 8340, rental income setup items tab. Also take a look at the immersive reader tool, topic introductions in the text area too, with the same name, same number, but with transcripts. Transcripts that can be translated into multiple languages and either listened to or read in them. Same name and number as presentations as well. Topic introductions designed to give an introduction to the topic, provide screenshots, links where applicable, give accounting background to complement the presentations, and can be used to follow along with them if you don't have access to the software at that time. Closing the icon on the left-hand side, we're looking at the rental income. So we're going to be imagining here that we're going to be setting up a rental income kind of system. This could look similar to a system that you might have for residential type of rental, in which case you might have a security payment of some kind that you'll be receiving basically in advance, which would be another form of that undeposited funds. And we have the same kind of situation and scenario we talked about in previous presentations with regards to the undeposited funds. In that example, we then looking at a situation where we got an advance payment for a request of a guitar that we were going to have to then purchase from the vendor or otherwise set up for some custom situation. In this case, we're thinking that we have a rental situation in our case of equipment, possibly band equipment in some way, and we're going to rent out what we have in terms of possibly a couple guitars, and then we got, a drum set or something that we're going to rent out for a band set for like weekends or some format in that format. So we want to set up the items in order to process that information, and the general flow we would expect to be is someone would be requesting that we reserve this band set for them so that they can use it at a particular point in time. When they do that, then we would like to get a down payment at that point in time, which would be basically a received payment item. That's when we would have that basically unearned revenue type of situation, getting paid before we actually did the work, before we gave them the rental item. We can also try to calculate what that payment should be by setting up an estimate. So we might say, I'm going to get an estimate, set up the estimate to kind of think about what the prepayment will be, the down payment we need to reserve the equipment, and then when they basically rent the equipment, we actually do the work. That's when we can possibly create the invoice at that point in time, and that's going to be the basic idea. Now, when we set up the equipment, if you're going to set up something like this, it's important, like with all the situations, especially with like service type of items, if you're a bookkeeping firm or a law firm, you often just say, well, I'm just going to do an hourly kind of rate. And you might say it might be a lot easier in the billable system if you said, no, maybe I should try to set things up by what I do and make the billing a more, like set unit where it will be easier for me to do the billable items rather than counting the hours. That's possibly a good idea there. Here, we might say, well, I'm just going to charge for per unit of thing that I rent out. So I might have a set of guitars that are here on stock that I can rent out. I might then have the amps. I might have a drum set and so on that we could rent out. But it might be easier for us to do something like say, well, I'm going to set up a standard band set, which might include, say, like 2 guitars, the drum set, and an amplifier and a microphone or something like that. And that will be the base unit that we can then charge. And so if someone wants a band set, we're not going to just rent out one guitar. If that's all they want, we're going to say, hey, you got to buy the minimum band set, which includes the basic within this range of units, items that we will rent out to you. And then possibly think about if you want to be purchasing something over and above that, you can do so. So if you just want one guitar, one drum set, that's fine. But we rent out a full set, which is 2 guitars, and it's the same price with 1 drum set, so that's our minimum amount right there. And then you might want to have upgrades, basically buying an amp on top of it, or if you want a really loud something or something, you got to pay more as you make the upgrades. That could make the process of booking the rental income a lot more easy than if you have something a little bit more abstract where you're kind of trying to piecemeal everything together. So those are just some things to think about when you're setting up your items. You always want to keep those kind of things in mind. So we're going to say that the standard band set item, we're going to say 2,000 is just a random 2,000 amount we're going to be putting in here, and then we're going to have the revenue account, which is going to be some kind of income account. We're going to set up a new income account, which is going to be the equipment rental income. So the category is the same. Remember, I'm not setting up an income account saying I'm going to set up an income account for each piece of rental, for example, or by customer. It's big enough of a subcategory that we might want to break it out from other service revenue, but you don't want to get too detailed on the number of income accounts that you have, because you have the subledgers to give you some more detail about what it is you're actually selling in a more granular by item level and by customer level. And then we're going to set up the band set. So there it is. And so there's our band set on the service items that we can use to then populate an invoice. We might then add, in addition to that, we might say, okay, I'm going to say that they might want like another guitar. We got 2 guitars in our band set, for example, maybe. And maybe we say, yeah, if you want to upgrade the guitar, or possibly if you want to basically get another guitar and have 3 guitars, then that's going to be costing another $50 for you to do that for the rental. We might have an added amp. If you want to be louder than our basic amp, then possibly we have a setup and say, hey, if you want to upgrade your amp or get another amp and just blast it or whatever you're going to do, then that costs another $40 on the rental. That's one way that you might kind of set up this process. Have, this is my baseline, this is the base package. You can't go under that or else it's not worth my time. We'll give you 2 guitars and that's it, or just a drum set, but this is the base package. You're going to pay the same amount for the base package. And then you could go over and above the base package if you so choose, and we will tack on fixed units to go over and above, making the billing process easy, imagining a process so that if someone called in and booked something, you can have a staff member basically take the booking down without having to be like, know exactly and read your mind exactly on how the booking would take place.